Hey everybody, Chef Hamill here, and I am going to talk about artichokes today. Artichokes are one of my favorite vegetables, and I think a lot of people don't really know how to prepare them. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity to demonstrate different ways that you can prepare them. So almost all artichokes are grown commercially in California. They are actually an immature flower of the thistle plant. And so if you actually let these mature, they would turn into a really bright purple flower, which is kind of cool. And in a study done by the USDA, they were actually ranked one of the highest vegetables in antioxidants. They are really high in fiber, vitamin C, and magnesium, so they're really, really good for you. So today I am going to kind of show you how to prepare them because I'm sure, as a lot of people know, a lot of these outer leaves are pretty much inedible, and so we have to do a lot of trimming and cutting to get to the edible portion of the artichoke, which is actually the artichoke heart, which is kind of down here in the artichoke. So when buying artichokes, you want to look for one that the petals or the leaves are very tight together. That means it's fresh. You should also buy one kind of has like a little squeaky sound. That just means they're on the fresher side. They should also be a pretty bright green color, not brown. Of course, you can just cheat and buy the artichoke hearts, which I do in a pinch because this is a lot of work, but these are great. So first thing we need to do is we are going to trim the stem with our chef knife, and we are going to actually peel off all of these leaves as much as we can peel off with our hands. Artichokes have a lot of waste, and so it's kind of hard to find ways to utilize the leaves, but you can actually save them and make a really nice vegetable stock or an artichoke stock with them and make an artichoke soup out of it, which I will leave a link to that in the description. So we're just gonna peel a lot of these off. And the way I'm gonna prepare them today is going to be breaded, and instead of fried, which would be delicious, I'm gonna bake them in the oven for just a healthier alternative. Another important thing to note with artichokes is that they oxidize very quickly, or they turn brown when exposed to the air. So I have a lemon cut in half here that I'm gonna use to kind of rub all over the artichoke as I start to pull the leaves off and expose more of the heart, because otherwise it's gonna turn a really like muddy brown color. Now you can choose to completely cut the stem off if you'd like. I'm actually going to keep, well, I'm gonna cut off the stem, but I'm gonna keep the stem and cook the stem. But I need to peel it. It's a little more fibrous, but it's still edible. And considering that a lot of this I'm not going to be using with the leaves, I want to cook as much of the edible portion as possible. So I'm just going to peel a lot of these outer layers off because they can be very fibrous. I'm going to, actually I'll break off my stem if I can. I'm going to set this aside and trim off this extra piece. Actually, if you see the little fibers that are kind of standing up, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, that just means that it's fresh, which is good. Oh. Put that in my scrap bin. And now what I'm going to do, now that I've pulled off a lot of these kind of outer leaves, is I'm going to start trimming, or what they consider turning, of an artichoke. So I have a paring knife here, which is a small knife for smaller work. I know you have to be careful of your hands, but I'm gonna kind of go around in a circle. I'm gonna trim off a lot of this green part on the bottom. And this is going to slowly expose the heart. Now this is something, I'm gonna be honest, I don't do very often. I don't work with fresh artichokes very often, so I might be a little rusty, so you'll have to forgive me. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my chef knife and cut through some of the top part of the leaves. Pull some more of these outer ones off. And I'm actually going to leave some of these on, of these outer leaves, because they can and will cook down. Make sure I'm rubbing my lemon juice on here. Now the important thing to note with artichokes is that there is a choke, or the fibers or little hairs that are inside the middle of the artichoke. You need to make sure you remove them. They are not edible. So I'm actually going to be cutting these in quarters, because that is how I am going to bake them. So all of these little hairs or fibers need to come out. The choke is not edible. So I'm actually going to use a spoon to kind of pull them out. You have to be careful. Sometimes artichokes can be very prickly. They do sometimes on some of the leaves have little thorns or prickers. So you just need to be really, really careful of your hands. But you need to make sure that you get in there and you remove all of this choke. That looks good. Now you can kind of see it's starting to turn brown, starting to oxidize. So I'm going to get a little bit of my lemon on there. Pull off a few more of these leaves. Do a little more trimming on the outside. It's a lot of work, which is why I usually buy the hearts in the jar, I'm going to be honest, but off a little bit more of these leaves. I'm going to cut these into smaller portions, and this is pretty much what you are left with. Not much. It's just a little bit of the heart, and then the little bit of like the leaves that are left behind. But all of the choke is removed. All of those fibers are removed. And so it's a lot of work for a little bit of a reward, but it's going to taste delicious. So after I'm done, I'm going to put them directly in acidulated water, so water with lemon juice, so that it does not oxidize anymore. I'm going to work on my other pieces. Now with these artichoke hearts, you can make a spinach and artichoke dip. You could roast them and put them in a vegetable wrap, or just as a side dish. Artichokes are very, very versatile and delicious. That one's good. There's my water. Very messy. So you want to keep your cutting board clean. I'm actually just using the bag that I purchased them in from the supermarket for all of my scraps, because there's a lot of scraps. The choke I will obviously throw out, but I am going to save the leaves to make a stock out of, a vegetable stock, and I will put a recipe to that in the description. You can obviously roast them whole. I know a lot of people do that, or they stuff them with breadcrumbs and herbs and cheese. But I like eating them crispy, just like this. So what I'm going to do is, once I'm done with preparing all of these, is dredge them in some flour, dip them in egg, and then make seasoned breadcrumbs with some fresh parsley, some lemon zest that I saved from the lemons that I used in my acidulated water, some salt and pepper, very simple, and then I'm going to put them on a baking sheet and bake them or roast them in the oven on 375 degrees until they're really nice and crispy. And I'm actually making some pork schnitzel and spätzle tonight. Spätzle is a homemade German egg noodle, so this will be like my little vegetable side dish for that. Alrighty. Almost done. There we go. So that is one whole artichoke. I'm going to work on the second one. Hey everyone, welcome back. So these are the artichoke hearts that I'm left with. As you can see, you don't get a lot. So definitely if you are making these in abundance, you would want to buy the jarred or canned stuff. But these are really great because fresh artichokes have obviously a very fresh artichoke flavor, or a more intense artichoke flavor that jarred or canned artichokes don't typically have. So from this point, what I am going to do is I'm going to very briefly blanch these in some simmering water with some lemon juice and salt, just to soften them a little bit, and then I'm going to bread them and roast them in the oven. And I will explain all of those directions in the description below. If you have any questions about artichokes, how to prepare them, or any recipe concerns, please let me know. I'm also going to post some different recipes in the description. And thank you for watching.